Hey guys, my name is Jamie, and let's break down some walls. What do the films Mother and Kingsman: The Golden Circle have in common? You're probably thinking,
Fuck all.
one of them is about spies taking down a drug cartel, whereas the other is about a young bride in a strained marriage with a self-indulgent poet. And aside from the fact that both of these films had September releases, they have very little in common. Yet I opted for a comparative review because one of them was a commercial success, whereas the other hasn't even broken even yet. So surely the one that made more money is a better film.
Wrong.
Here's why. Basically, the story involves a bride who's coping with her feelings of abandonment due to the distance between her and her husband, who's a poet struggling so badly with writer's block that he allows strangers into their home for inspiration. And that's the story at its simplest, however, it doesn't do proper justice to the rich allegorical content found layered within this film. And that's what made this film so thought-provoking and really interesting, because it was open to interpretation. One film that kind of influenced my interpretation was Rosemary's Baby, due to strong similarities in the story. However, there is more to it than that. One of my biggest issues with The Golden Circle is that it's essentially a repeat of The Secret Service. Both films involve a plot line that have an evil business person whose product is used worldwide, which is then used for their own nefarious purposes. Mother carries with it a lot of themes, but the ones to look out for are those of religion and environmentalism. The tone of the film is very cynical and primal in the transmission of some very brutal imagery due to the weighted dialogue and the subtextual value it has. What I really loved about the first Kingsman film was the playful tone it had, and this was carried into the second film. However, I didn't really get the sense of a theme being that developed, aside maybe from an anti-drug message. I thought that the acting in this film was brilliant. I've always loved Javier Bardem in every film I've seen him in, and Jennifer Lawrence seems to be one of the best actresses in Hollywood today. I thought that the casting choices were spot on, with Jennifer Lawrence playing an innocent bride, whereas Javier Bardem plays this very intense artistic character. And the dynamic between the both of them was really interesting as well, particularly due to their age difference, which comes up in the story. The way that Javier Bardem's character treats her at times is that he treats her like a child, and he doesn't seem to really love her, but rather loves the fact that she loves him so much, yet he still cares for her. Jennifer Lawrence, on the other hand, at times is quite childish and naive in the film. However, she seems to be the only character with good sense in this film.
What is wrong with you people? Huh?
In fact, if Javier Bardem's character had learned about stranger danger as a child, I'm pretty sure most of the messed up things wouldn't have happened in this film. I thought that the characters in this film were rather complex and profound, and really benefited from the skills of seasoned actors like the aforementioned ones, but also Ed Harris, Michelle Pfeiffer, and Domhnall Gleeson, amongst others. Despite rehashing the same plotline from the first film, I think I would have enjoyed this film more if there had been some major character development. However, none of the characters go through any significant changes in this film. Even Eggsy, who still remains a likable protagonist, doesn't go through any of the changes that he did in the first one. In the first one, he went from being a young offender to a Kingsman, and he still remains a likable protagonist, but he seems to be no more developed than a punchline in a sharp suit.
Whatever.
And that's something that you could say about most of the characters in this film. Even though they got some very accomplished actors involved in this sequel, it feels like none of the characters really have an arc, and that's a shame because it undermined everything they did. I thought that the dialogue in Mother was strong. It was pretty interesting, and it set up the characters very well, giving them their own personalities and thus bringing them to life. And what was really good about the dialogue as well is that it gives us a view into the mindsets of the characters, which helped to build up the tension for a frantic and brutal end. I found that the dialogue was lacking in this film. Even though there was some funny banter in the lines, there were some moments that were meant to be profound but just came off as cheesy, really. And even some of the funny lines at points just felt really ridiculous. For example, at one point you see the President of America in this film, and then some of the things he says, they're just ridiculous and unrealistic. However, I guess with Trump as president, nothing's unrealistic anymore.
My father gave me a huge loan of $1 million. People think I don't like China. I love China. 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 China.
We will make America.
I was interested in seeing Mother for two reasons: Requiem for a Dream and Black Swan. And even though these are the only 3 films I've seen of his filmography, I really love Darren Aronofsky as a director. I find that his vision, particularly his cinematography, is incredible. And this film, even though it started off kind of slow, it picked up for a very chaotic and frantic ending that was very tense, just like those other 2 films. This film has definitely split opinion, but I was captivated from the beginning. I was really looking forward to Kingsman because I really enjoyed the first one. And also, I've liked other films that Matthew Vaughn has made, for instance Kick-Ass or X-Men First Class. But I feel that he dropped the ball slightly on Kingsman, The Golden Circle. I think the main issue was that he was focusing too much on making the sequel bigger and better. However, it seemed that he shoehorned many ideas into this film. Cyborg arms that could crack into databases and cyborg dogs? Why not? Weird made-up technology that can cure a fatal gun wound? Of course. An Elton John cameo without any boundaries?
Fuck yeah.
There was too much focus on the spectacle and style rather than the soul of the film. Kingsman was a fast-paced film that literally exploded into action, which was enhanced by choppy editing and dynamic camera movement that catered well for the great fighting choreography, especially the way it was timed to the music. The luxurious gadgets, locations, and production design all contributed to the surreal, adrenaline-fueled world of the Secret Service. The style of Kingsman is all about being over the top, particularly with the special effects. Kingsman delivers fun action with flair, but you need more than action sequences to make a genuinely good film. Ultimately, Kingsman was all style and no substance, which is why I'm going to give it a 5. What stood out in this film was the cinematography, particularly at times when Darren Aronofsky used handheld camera, which in turn took its own symbolic value. For instance, at several points you have the camera moving around very quickly and with some sharp turns, which symbolizes Jennifer Lawrence's character's world turning upside down. And another thing that was great about the cinematography was that close-ups formed a big part of it, and this was used for different things. For example, it felt both claustrophobic and invasive, which symbolized the discomfort that Jennifer Lawrence's character felt at different times. We also got the intimacy between her character and Javier Bardem's character. It was also really good for creating a tense atmosphere. The music in this film wasn't outstanding, but I still thought it was very effective for creating an atmosphere. And what was also interesting in this film was the production design due to its metaphorical use. For instance, the house is one of the biggest representations of something from the Bible, and is suggested through the use of special effects, which also had great aesthetic value. Lastly, the editing in this film was jarring at times, for instance, to indicate a passage of time, but I thought it was really well done. All things considered, Mother was quite possibly my favorite film this year, which is why I'm going to give it a 9. Although I believe that The Golden Circle did have entertainment value, I still think it was a pretty forgettable film with generic action sequences. Really, I think it's just another sequel that failed to live up to the standards of the original. Mother, on the other hand, was perhaps the most unique film experience I've ever had. It's often said that Hollywood is running out of ideas, and that's usually in response to all the reboots and sequels that are being made. However, Mother was the exact type of film that Hollywood needed, I believe. It was daring, it was original, and it was thought-provoking. I understand why not everybody loves it, because it is very brutal, it's divisive, it's provocative, and it's quite pretentious. But I thought that it was really well made, and that it's the type of film that will inspire the next generation of filmmakers. I really respect Darren Aronofsky for taking the risk that goes into making a film like this, and I think that film will be better off for it. I know that I'd much rather watch a film like this than a cash-grabbing sequel.
Yeah, well, that's just like your opinion, man.
Well guys, thanks for watching. I really hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, please subscribe, because everyone needs a break.